I recently watched a video from a channel called Crime Zone, which put together this beautiful piece on one of the most interesting criminals I've ever heard of. It just seems like something more out of a cartoon than reality, like the real world Dirty Dan here. I'll quickly hit you with a 30-second Shark Tank pitch to get you interested and tell you why you should care. Basically, an army veteran uses his skills to target McDonald's locations for robbery, and his specialty was busting in through the rooftop. So he would bring tools, cut through the roof, and drop in like an angel on the employees. And he had the manners of an angel too. He'd let them get their coats. They all said that he was really nice, and asked them to just wait in like the ice locker, the freezer. And he'd rob them and leave. And he did this for quite some time before being apprehended. Spoilers, he gets caught. But he doesn't spend too long in jail because he hatched a galaxy brain scheme to break out, which he executed flawlessly, becoming the first prisoner at that facility to ever break out successfully. And he turns back to a life of crime, but no longer going to the Ronald McDonald Playhouse of Pain. Instead, he transitions to living in a Toys R Us and gradually stealing their toys. So what he does is he lives at a Toys R Us by living behind a bike rack. He carves out his own little like hidden man cave in the walls. I won't spoil how it all ends or anything like that, but I just wanted to get like the cliff notes out here because I just find it so wild. I'll put a link to the original video in the description, of course, so you can watch the entire thing, but I'll show you some clips from when we watched it. Alright, let's start with, let's see Roof Man. This sounds kind of interesting. I do love criminals that hide in attics and shit.
Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Unbeknownst
Quick question, is there still a massive breakfast rush for McDonald's? I remember when I was a kid that was the shit, but I feel like McDonald's has just such steep competition these days for the breakfast slot. Do we have any like big McDonald's breakfast enthusiasts here? Because near me it's kind of just like no one cares anymore. Overwhelmingly yes. Wow. I just think the McDonald's breakfast has really fallen off. It's like Netflix stock, but for food.
Once he had the cash, the masked robber walked all of the employees into the cooler where they were locked inside.
It seems kind of nice.
They were asked if they wanted to grab their coats to stay warm while they waited for help to arrive. After
they have a police sketch and it's just a Hamburglar.
Fled. While the employees didn't know it at the time,
I saw a video of two women stealing everyone's food inside a restaurant. Don't remember where, though. Probably McDonald's. Actually, I take that back. Probably Waffle House. Waffle House is a restaurant you go to and you're just looking for fights. And maybe, like, a waffle or two. I think it's a Prime Sun City. So this is basically the only fast food specialized robber is what I'm getting.
While little is known about why Jeffrey Allen Manchester chose to turn to a life of crime, what we do know
the better question is why turn to a life of crime for fast
robber
food?
Known as Roof Man, he lived what appeared to be a normal life, to put his military training to a different kind of use. In November of 1998...
Do you really need military training to rob a McDonald's? I feel like you could just go in and be like, I just want the money in the register, and like, make like a finger gun in your jacket and be like, yeah, just take it. Like, I don't think you really needed all like the special ops training just to become like a fucking Filet-O-Fish fondler. Felon. Damn, that would have been better instead of fucking fondler. It doesn't even make sense. But man, this guy, those McDonald's employees, they didn't know who they were fucking with when he busted through their ceiling. One second they're just serving up a quarter pounder, next second they got goddamn Jason Bourne coming through the top turnbuckle. That's
While
cute.
The bulk of Manchester's robberies were committed in California, he would eventually hit McDonald's locations in Nevada, Oregon, Minnesota, Massachusetts, Maryland, Virginia, and both of the Carolinas, making off with an estimated $100,000. Manchester would use tools to cut a hole in the roof of the location, dropping down anywhere from 10 to 15 feet.
So what? I still am super confused on why the roof. What tactical advantage does he get from busting in right here behind the counter as opposed to just rushing through here and jumping over the counter? Just like the element of surprise? No alarm? I guess, but there's still employees there either way, right? Because like they said, he was always really nice to the employees and telling them to get to the back and shit, so there's still people there. So at that point, the alarm's kind of worthless, wouldn't you think?
When they caught up to him a short time later, he was still carrying his rifle as well as a nylon bag containing drills, pry tools, hammers, and all of the cash he had stolen from the 2 McDonald's locations. True to his reputation, Manchester didn't put up a fight when cornered by officers, instead telling them, quote, "You guys did a really good job today." With Manchester's arrest came a flurry of news articles announcing he was ultimately sentenced to 45 years in prison on charges ranging from robbery with a dangerous weapon to kidnapping. Little did anyone know that his story was far from over.
Really? He busted a hole out of the prison
Following
cell?
his conviction at the end of 2000, Jeffrey Manchester was sent on the afternoon of June 15th, 2004.
Now the roof
Jeffrey
man can be
Manchester
anywhere.
put his plan into action and escaped from the Brown Creek Correctional Institution, making him the first person to do so in the facility's 11-year history.
Hey, that's pretty
Once
good.
again,
Well, 11
the
years
roof
isn't
man
super long.
was
That's still
free.
good.
It was here, at an unassuming retail plaza, that he would set up a living space that would baffle and amuse both the public and law enforcement
oh my God, he opened his own
for years to
McDonald's.
come.
A
For his
franchise
new
owner.
home, the roof man chose a Toys R Us store located in a complex called the Triangle Shopping Center,
Nice.
just off of Monroe Road. He raced remote control cars on the roof in the middle of the night, rode bikes around the store for exercise, and managed to get most of the nourishment that he needed by stealing and eating baby food.
Toys R
funny
Us had all kinds of snacks. He didn't need baby food. I remember back in the heyday at Toys R Us, you could get like fucking pounds of Doritos and shit. My man's over there just eating like meat sticks and apple mush when he could have been feasting on Doritos and Oreos. This man just said, "Fuck it, I want the Gerbers." Thanks for some Dreadnought in the prime elbow. This actually seems like something out of Codename Kids Next Door. Like one of the villains infiltrates a toy store that the kids are shopping at in order to torment them and scare them at night. Man's actually the boogeyman at the Jeffrey's Play Palace here. I have looked literally everywhere in the world for a single picture of this man's laboratory here. You know, Dexter's lab kind of shit. Because the way it's described in the video and the way it's described by the authorities, it sounds fucking incredible. He had baby monitor surveillance spy systems set up across the store to keep eyes on everyone, all the workers and all the customers and everything. He had so many toys and shit and a really elaborate setup with running water all in his like secret man cave in the Toys R Us walls. I want so badly to know what that actually looked like. I can't imagine a world where they didn't take pictures of it. They'd have to, right? Like, it's evidence. So surely those pictures exist somewhere, and I am begging any authorities that were involved in this case to just release the photo evidence. Let us see it. Let us just take a gander. I have to know what his little secret lair looked like here in this Toys R Us, because it must have been so fucking cool. Or maybe it's overhyped, and it was actually just like a really small, like, coffin of a couple of toys that he'd stay at. Who knows? But it just sounds so impressive, and I would love to know what it looks like. But unfortunately, I can't find a single picture of it anywhere. I can't even find, like, a single, like, artistic interpretation of it from anyone from the scene. Nothing. But I know those pictures have to have existed. So I hope someday they surface.
And when the holiday season rolled around, no one donated more to the congregation's toy drive than he did. Of course, these toys were actually all stolen from the store where the roof man was hiding
Who's
out.
gonna miss the toys though, huh?
It was during this time that he realized he could tunnel directly through the store's wall into the adjacent unit, which just so happened to be an abandoned Circuit City. This time,
Maybe this guy is responsible for Toys R Us and Circuit City going under. After they found out that this man was living in their walls for... It's been almost a year, I think, now. They just got so fucking paranoid that the business started sinking. God damn. What a cool setup, though. That is like the most early 2000s shit imaginable. Like, that is your early 2000s shopping starting kit. Toys R Us, Circuit City, and Radio Shack. The only thing he's missing is a Blockbuster. Then he tunnels underground and goes right to Blockbuster or some shit.
he also added more baby monitors to add to his makeshift surveillance system,
Holy
and even
shit.
installed a smoke detector and piped in water from the Toys R Us next door.
What? Wait,
Many
how?
report-
How would nobody ever hear that? He piped in his own water line? How would he be able to successfully do that? It's not like it's not the hardest thing in the world to do that, I guess, if you tee off of an already existing line, but still, I feel like you'd absolutely hear that because you have to like drill into the walls and shit, and you have to tee off that pipe. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, I guess just doing it like in the dead of night without anyone being around, you'd probably never notice.
In order to continue to travel between the Toys R Us and the Circuit City as he pleased, Manchester left the tunnel between the two units intact.
I bet so many kids
similarly
saw him
blending
behind the
trap
bike
doors
rack
he
and
had
just got
created
scared and
in
didn't
with
say
the
anything.
walls on both sides. On December 26th, he decided it was time to pull off the big robbery that he had been planning. Unfortunately for the roof man, when he tried to pull off the crime, things did not go according to plan. Similar to the
Slipped on a
2000
banana
robbery
peel.
in Belmont, when he held up the Toys R Us, employees were able to contact police sooner than he anticipated. Manchester responded by punching her, stealing her
Oof.
gun, and running away.
That's aggressive.
Amazingly,
He used to be
though
so
the
nice.
roof man seemed cornered,
Circuit
he
City
managed to
changed
escape
him.
through his trapdoors undetected. It's unclear whether or not he returned to the hideout within the Circuit City, identified him as the man who had been going by the name John Zorin, and were shocked to discover who he really was. In a bid to cover his tracks, Manchester burned down a dentist office where he had gotten his teeth fixed while on the run.
How does that...
presumably worried that police would be able to find his dental records there.
Okay.
This had the opposite effect of what he
Man,
intended,
prison really
and
changed
only
him.
made investigators more suspicious. Manchester showed up, believing he would be able to see his girlfriend one last time before continuing his life on the run. He arrived with flowers, but was arrested by waiting officers before he could make it inside the apartment. Manchester is currently incarcerated
escape
at
again.
the Central Prison
The
in
roof
Raleigh,
man's not done.
where his projected release date is December 4th, 2036. Do you know of any other cases like this that you think we should
what
check
a
out?
cool story.
Tell us about them in the comments section below. Thank you for watching.
That prison is 5 minutes from my house. Bro, you might want to move just in case the roof man gets out. He'll start living in your walls. Sleep in fear, man. Sleep in fear.